The Force will be with you. Always.
I don't know what was written when, but the introduction of Emperor Goddamn Palpatine in Episode 9 feels like a desperate attempt to give people who hated The Last Jedi a nostalgia high right off the bat, who watched the first two movies and thought somehow Emperor Palpatine figures into this.
It wasn't because they wanted to give people a nostalgia high. The Emperor came back for one reason and one reason only, to explain why Rey has been a Mary Sue for the past two movies, which I guess partially absolves her from being a Mary Sue, or at least explains her abilities and penchant for the Force.
Who is he fighting? They look like kindly Baby Yoda types. They're all like half Jawa, half Ewok. Jawoks? Who are they, and what did they do to piss off Kylo Ren? Well, you might care as I do, but the movie does not. You move on, you're too old, let it go. Nobody listens to techno, now let's go.
These beings are called the Alasmech, a group of sentient beings that are here on Mustafar to guard this forest. They're in Kylo's way as he's heading to Darth Vader's castle to find the Sith Wayfinder.
In the middle of the woods of some random planet, there's a star map to where Emperor Palpatine is. It's called a Sith Wayfinder, and it may be the dumbest thing ever put in a Star Wars film. Why would a Sith create a map to his location? As powerful as Palpatine and Kylo are, can't Palpatine communicate this via the Force? And how did Kylo know this device was on this planet?
You're on the council of the Sith Wayfinder is a dumb MacGuffin, but we do not grant you the rank of this is a random planet. This is Mustafar, the location of the legendary battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and is where Vader made his home. This is the reason the Wayfinder is here, and it's why Kylo and the Stormtroopers just ran a train on the Alasmech.
Wait, there are ports compatible with stuff on your ship you can plug into the Sith Wayfinder? And why do you need four photo plugs for this thing anyway?
What do you think the purpose of a Wayfinder is, Jeremy? Of course you can plug it into your ship. This technology can't be more than 1,000 years old, and the Sith and Jedi have been flying spacefaring ships for at least that long. We're not talking about USB drives in the 70s.
Also, it's weird that you have this technology to clone yourself, and instead of being a young Palpatine, you're the same old Palpatine that got thrown into the Death Star shaft in Return of the Jedi.
The problem is, no matter which clone body he sends his spirit to, the clone would rapidly deteriorate. This is why he needed Rey, to either transfer his spirit or siphon her power to rejuvenate himself.
What could you give me?
Everything.
Earlier in this conversation, Emperor Palpatine said the First Order was just the beginning. I can give you so much more. Now he's like, I'll give you everything. And all of this is just vague enough to ask, what exactly do any of these Sith assholes actually want? It's not money, not sex. If power is the main goal, what do they want to use that power for? If the ultimate goal is to shape the universe into an evil spiral of wickedness, then is the power just being used for their entertainment value? Like, I hated King Joffrey on Game of Thrones, but we knew that his power was a means to satisfy his own amusement. I don't know what the hell these guys want.
But you already had an answer in the original trilogy when the Sith were in power: galactic domination. As for what they want to use that power for, what does anyone seeking power or riches ever want?
What do all men with power want? More power.
Why is this something you are only now questioning when it's always been a thing in fiction and real life? I mean, why do you make CinemaSins videos? At least the Sith actually do something productive.
The might of the final order will soon be ready.
Some of our software has some buggy code, and a lot of the stuff we promised at the Expo of Evil won't be in the final product, but our launch will skip. Meanwhile, at the Fortress of Hothitude,
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Get us back to base! How thick do you think that ice wall is?
what the are you talking about? There were a handful of TIE fighters in front of you before you said that. It's bad enough that this kind of force can't shoot down the Millennium Falcon, but it's even worse that the movie totally forgets about what is directly in front of the heroes after one single cut.
The movie doesn't forget the TIE fighters. It suggests that Poe uses a light speed jump to speed past them and through the ice wall behind them. They clearly show those same TIE fighters chasing them through hyperspace.
Oh, it came out of hyperspace right onto Billy Idol's scalp.
Jeremy makes a dumbass reference that has nothing to do with this movie at all.
Be with me.
Be with me. Is she talking to Luke, or is she anthropomorphizing the Force? Be with me. Sounds like a Michelle Branch song title from 2003.
Well, if you didn't cut out the scene, you'd know who she's talking about. In this same scene, Rey reveals she is talking about the Jedi that came before.
Be with me. They're not with me. Ugh.
Rey.
I'm starting to think it isn't possible to hear the voices of the Jedi who came before.
Reggie Jackson.
Who?
I know it looks like I'm making excuses.
Don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are.
I love Carrie Fisher. We all do, but JJ's insistence on keeping her an important part of this final Skywalker film, despite her untimely death, ultimately hurts the story and the overall presentation of this final film. These inserted pre-existing footage shots of her are ridiculously awkward. They remind me a lot of when they did that with Tony's mom in The Sopranos.
What do you suppose they do? Just not include one of the most integral characters to the entire series? I mean, I don't disagree that it was awkward, but you're suggesting they minimize or cut the character altogether, which is silly considering Leia is ultimately responsible for them winning.
There are ciphers here I can't read.
Bummer.
But he said to get there you need one of these.
Wait, what the f***?
Jeremy is manipulating a scene yet again. Rey is referring to conversations she had with Luke as she literally says his name before this.
I know how to get to Exegol.
Tell me.
Luke searched for it for a long time. He nearly found it. There are ciphers here I can't read. But he said to get there you need one of these. I'm gonna pick up Luke's search for Exegol. I'm gonna start where his trail went cold.
Never mind that this scavenger hunt needs to be successful in 16 hours, which is the time frame the movie gave for the Emperor's attack on the Free Worlds.
I'm going to ignore this nothing sin and point out that Jeremy just glossed over Rey stating in plain galactic basic that she was referring to Luke in the previous scene. That's worth 5 sins.
The General asked me to study the specs of old destroyers, so we can stop the fleet if you find it.
Yeah, knowing the specs of the old destroyers will surely help you to destroy 18 million supposedly new destroyers.
Yes, Jeremy. Because those new destroyers are actually old destroyers.
Ah, the Knights of Ren are back.
Knights of Ren. Gold.
See, they even had to include dialogue to remind viewers who these guys were, because they were absent the entire previous film.
Okay, that's a sin for the previous movie. You can't sin this movie because the previous movie was Rian Johnson.
Also, so JJ made Force Awakens and Rian Johnson was like, well, that was good, but it's a New Hope all over again. I want to take Star Wars in new directions. And JJ sees The Last Jedi and says, what the f***, Ryan? You threw out everything I did. I'm bringing it all back, damn it. And Kathleen Kennedy sat at a table counting money like Gus Van Sant and Jay and Silent Bob saying, not now, Ben, I'm busy. And Colin Trevorrow was over in the corner raising his hand saying, I am job.
I let that whole thing play out for the people that ask me why I skip these kinds of tangents. If you didn't cringe, I pity your soul. And your mother.
A Sith baddie uses the Force to choke a mouthy cabinet member. And we are just playing all the hits here, people. If you dig that, take out your masturbation assistance devices now.
Well, he is his grandfather's grandson. Also, Kylo is not a Sith.
That necklace snatching is so dramatic, I'm surprised it didn't lead to the death of Bruce Wayne's parents.
Leia sent me a transmission.
Leia sent you a transmission, but didn't send the others a transmission to look for you? Why wouldn't setting up a meeting between Lando and the others be the plan from the get-go? Instead, Rey walks around the festival, gets a bead necklace, plays herself when Kylo reaches into the void and grabs it for analysis, and gets attacked by stormtroopers, all because they couldn't set up a meeting in the first place.
The reason the group heads to this planet is not to meet up with Lando, but to follow Luke's trail to the Sith Wayfinder. Where the hell are you getting that this meeting was their intention? It's hilarious how many people still think you are pretending to be dumb.
Only 2 were made.
The Sith Wayfinder.
I still don't know why they made these things, but if they wanted Sith to be able to find this place, why would they only make 2? This is like God only giving Moses 1 copy of the 10 Commandments.
Why would they only make 2? Couldn't possibly have anything to do with the rule of 2, could it?
Luke Skywalker came here to find one.
I know. I was with him. Luke and I were tailing an old Jedi hunter.
No, you weren't. You think moody-ass loner Luke decided to call Lando up to track down a Jedi hunter? I'm not buying it. But look, I get it. You wanted to put Lando in your movie. You wanted the cheering and the applause.
This implies that Luke has always been a moody loner asshole and wasn't given a good reason to be one when Kylo turned out to be a little dweeb shit. Luke was still a part of the Alliance and obviously underwent missions, and this was one of them. Also, that fucking laugh.
I got a bad feeling about this.
God damn it all to hell. Stop re-hitting all the beats, JJ. This is like having Spock yell Khan instead of Kirk.
Says the guy that says the words cliche, ex machina, or a cringy sexual joke in nearly every video.
How do you know how to do that?
Why does Finn keep asking Poe questions about his ability to know things about the very thing in which he is an expert?
Because the ability to fly a ship does not include the ability to hotwire one. This is one of the minor plot points of this film, that Poe has a shady past. You might as well suggest Carroll Shelby was an expert in hotwiring cars simply because he won Le Mans.
They fly now! They fly now? They fly now!
Did everyone forget about Boba Fett? He flew without combat, he flew without net, he flew long before these dudes even met, and he set the flight bar that these fools just forget.
I'm going to ignore this Dr. Seuss bullshit to point out that Boba Fett is not a goddamn stormtrooper. Mandalorians get their jetpacks as a rite of passage. Conflating Boba with stormtroopers is one of the surefire ways to spot a normie, right up there with referring to Vader as Dark Vader.
No one will be seated during the Mad Max Fury Road portion of the film.
Right, because Mad Max Fury Road invented chase scenes in a desert and didn't steal it from Indiana Jones.
Just like that one Harry Potter film, the real answer here ends up being to let go and allow yourself to be swallowed by the vine's quicksand, which is, I guess, exciting?
And unlike that film, the protagonists don't figure that out in time, so I guess you just wanted to let us all know you remember the first Harry Potter film? The f*** was the point of that?
Luke sensed it. Ochi never left this place.
So tell me again how Luke ran into a dead end when looking for this guy, if he could sense him. Wouldn't the Force tell him where this guy ended up? Let me put it this way, if we watched a Star Wars movie where Luke was looking for this guy, he'd use the Force to find out that his body was in the ground underneath the quicksand. We wouldn't even bat an eye that he found him, but this movie is trying to say he just gave up after searching Ochi's ship with Lando.
What the movie is actually suggesting is that Ochi fell through the sinking fields and because Luke was unaware of their nature, thought this was a dead end. Remember, all Luke knew was that Ochi had a clue where the Wayfinder was, not that he had an actual tool that could point them to it.
After falling through the quicksand into a system of caves, they find the magical dagger of truth that ultimately helps Rey find her way later. And I just have to say, quicksand ex machina, am I right?
No, you are not right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Rey knows parcel tongue.
Jeremy makes a pop culture
I just transferred a bit of life. Force energy from me to him.
But can you get that back somehow? Does it regenerate like a special move bar in a video game?
No, she does not get it back. Force healing requires the sacrifice of one's own vitality, which is why when the child in The Mandalorian does it, he tuckers himself out.
He's trying to eat me.
The beast used to fly with Han Solo.
Who gives a if he used to fly with Han Solo? You do know he's with the other people you're looking for, right? His relationship to Han Solo means about as much to this movie as the fact that Donald Gleason was an ex machina with Oscar Isaac.
You're aware that the characters in the movie aren't aware they're in a movie, right? These events do not take place in a vacuum. His relationship to Han is relevant because Han helped destroy Starkiller Base, a major blow to the First Order. The First Order is generally aware of Chewbacca's involvement with the Alliance, and this is why they're going to interrogate him.
Let's do that. I know a black market droidsmith.
This fake-ass laugh.
For Chewie.
Really wish C-3PO would die. He hasn't been funny or fun since the original trilogy, and even then he was pushing it.
CinemaSins' narrator still hasn't realized that he is C-3PO.
This is like playing Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. And don't any of you modern Rainbow Six or Ghost Recon bitches even start with me about how old that reference makes me sound. I'm old, I don't care, and I could kick your ass at a Rogue Spear Grenades Only run right now.
Hold on, playing Rainbow Six Rogue Spear makes you old? Here I was about to suggest a taser-only siphon filter run in retaliation. I guess to these Zoomers, anything from before they were born makes you old. So here's a sin for acknowledging Zoomers. You know, the people that think loud distortion and dumpster juice tier memes that don't make any sense are funny. Seriously, this retarded bullshit.
Doesn't R2 back up your memory?
Oh, please. R2 storage units are famously unreliable.
And that's all the movie has to say about that.
Not true, because they literally show R2 restoring C-3PO's memory.
Chewie?
What about him?
He's on red shit.
Oh, now you can sense him. Also, it would have been way better for the movie for the reveal that he's alive to happen here, and not some bull scene with General Hux.
How many times do the movies have to show you that the Force doesn't just passively give Force users information before you get it through your thick skull? In this scene, you can see Rey doing what appears to be her actively using the Force to scan the ship. She didn't do this in the other scene because she thought she blew him up and was emotionally distracted.
Look, I get it when Kylo grabs a necklace and Force steals it from one world to another. I do not get it when they smash the Darth Vader pedestal and somehow the image of only his mask transports to another place. They can apparently only see each other and not their surroundings, so how does any of this work?
That was not the image of the mask, that was the actual helmet being transferred. This is called a dyad. You've already seen multiple instances of Kylo using the Force to transport matter over 2 movies. As I said in the Last Jedi video, the Force is space magic. The films have never properly explained its capabilities, and it's always done what the plot needed it to do. If you don't believe me, find a movie-only explanation for how Force telekinesis works. Go on, I got time.
You are a Palpatine.
You know why this is a surprise? Because nobody can imagine Emperor Palpatine having sex. And now I have a million questions about the backstory of this whole thing that I am sure is explained in a book or a comic or something. And Palpatine finding out about Rey occurred after his death, by the way. I know he was cloned, but who told him he had a granddaughter while he spent his days on that distant planet? If you say the Force, then why wasn't he able to locate her and kill her while she ran around scavenging on Jakku? If you say one of his minions kept tabs on Palpatine's son, I'll call you a liar, because there's no way Palpatine anybody and had a kid.
You're right. Palpatine's son is actually a failed clone of his who had sex with a woman. In the strictest sense, Rey is Palpatine's daughter and granddaughter at the same time. Also, once Sheev realized he had a granddaughter, he planned to transfer his spirit into her, which was his original plan with his son, and not to kill Rey.
Interstellar wave is interstellar.
Yes, because Interstellar invented giant waves. Next, you're going to tell me that the famous Kanagawa Okinamiura was made because Hokusai had just finished watching Interstellar on his flat-screen TV back in 1831.
Whoa, it's like you got some Empire Strikes Back in my Rise of Skywalker. It's like metaphorical and stuff.
It's always funny that people bitch and moan about wanting consistency in these movies, and then when they get it, they bitch and moan. I guess what I'm saying is, people are never happy.
The only way you're getting to Exegol is with me.
I have been through too much with this Wayfinder to just have Kylo smash it. Entirely, deeply too much. This whole movie has been about Rey trying to find this thing. Now Kylo smashes it, as if all the that happens in the movie after this can't happen without it. I think, yeah, I'm gonna add 100 cents for this.
This entire time, Jeremy has been bitching about the MacGuffin, and then when the movie subverts the idea of the MacGuffin, Jeremy gives the movie 100 cents for doing something he wanted it to do. I guess what I'm saying is, you're padding the sin count, bro. So, I will too.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually bored with this lightsaber battle. What do we think is going to actually happen here? Every lightsaber battle in the original trilogy seemed consequential. Obi-Wan dying, Luke losing his hand, and the negotiation between good and evil itself. This one? Yeah, Rey's going to stab Kylo when Leia distracts him, but Rey's going to heal him immediately afterward. This is a laser show. Play some Pink Floyd and maybe I'll pay attention.
Nonsense. As you just stated, Rey is going to defeat Kylo here, and even though she heals him, this is the death of Kylo Ren and rebirth of Ben Solo. This fight has enormous implications. The hell are you talking about?
Man, all the bad guys ever want to do in these movies is blow up planets. And I guess it's cool, but I've seen enough exploding planets in these movies to not be moved by them anymore.
Do you think the movie is trying to move you by destroying a planet or demonstrate the threat of the Final Order's destroyers? Because I'm pretty sure it's the latter.
Does that mean every ship in the fleet
has planet-killing weapons? Of course they do.
This reminds me of that story by Hans Christian Andersen, where two screenwriters promise the Emperor that they'll give him an imagination, but then they decide not to give him one at all. They just tell him it's there. And then everybody claims that the Emperor has an imagination because they don't want to look stupid, until a kid observes him and says, but he doesn't have an imagination at all.
Jeremy just attempted to compare this film to The Emperor's New Clothes. What does this have to do with Star Wars, you ask? Well, I think because this movie contains an emperor and the fable also has an emperor, you can see how those whose comprehension skills are at a first grade level might get confused.
And the Star Wars farewell tour continues. Coming up next, Porkins, Mace Windu, the ghost of Anakin Skywalker from the original trilogy before they replaced him with Hayden Christensen, and a fantastic cover band called There Can Be Obi-Wan. The name sounds apt, but it's not.
Imagine getting mad at this film for featuring a Force ghost, something that's been a thing since 1980.
Because you're a Palpatine. Leia knew it too. Some things are stronger than blood.
Duh! You are the son of the evil Darth Vader, you numbnuts! How the is this a lesson anyone in the universe needs to learn? Everyone knows about how you were good, even though your dad was, you know what? 50 cents, because some things are stronger than stupid dialogue, like the sin counter.
Dude. That is the point of the scene. You cut out the part of the scene that Rey states she wants to exile herself because of her fear of succumbing to the dark side. Luke states that her familial ties do not define her, and it means something coming from him because of his lineage. How do you get the scene and not get it at the same damn time?
Yeah, you can darken the screen and light the scene only with a blue lightsaber, and this digitally youngin' Leia still looks pretty creepy.
I don't care what your excuse is. Sending Leia holding and using a lightsaber.
Luke finally got a chance to lift his ship out of some water after completely failing to do so in The Empire Strikes Back. But I better see an army of goddamn Jedi ghosts coming to fight the Emperor after this. That asshole Qui-Gon and the dude with the 3-foot neck better be there, lightsabers drawn.
Again, this is Ahch-To, a planet that harbors an unusually strong connection to the Force and the site of the first Jedi Temple. A Force ghost can manipulate the Force here and do a lot of crazy things.
We need to put some holdo maneuvers. Do some real damage.
Is Mary Brandybuck here seriously suggesting a strategy of mass suicide?
It worked for the Japanese during World War II, and come to think of it, that strategy might have worked if it wasn't a 1 in a million shot. A lot of these people died anyway.
The nav signal is coming from that command ship. That's our drop zone.
How do you know?
A feeling.
Wait, just going to gloss over the fact that Finn is also force sensitive? Alrighty then.
Your anger. You want to kill me. That is what I want.
I feel like in Star Wars Episode 18 we'll be seeing this exact scene yet again, because Star Wars never changes. It'll be right after Disney hands the reins to Star Wars to Cal L. Cage, who will make Episode 17 using motion capture on his 85-year-old dad to play every single character of the movie, including the werewolves.
This is why this video is like 10 minutes too long. CinemaSins thinks saying a bunch of random bullshit is funny and their brand of comedy counts as something wrong with this film. Never mind the messy, haphazard plot and the fact that the movie is a little too fast. Nope, just any random bullshit that comes to their minds.
She will take her revenge.
This whole setup seems phony. In the original trilogy, we could actually see Luke getting angrier. And slipping into the dark side seemed to be a possibility, even though we knew it wouldn't happen. Rey has never really seemed like the angry type.
Rey has never seemed like the angry type? You mean the same girl that was losing tug of war to Kylo so bad she blew up a ship with Force lightning?
Okay, this is probably the coolest scene in the movie, but even with the dyad nature, how is this possible? The way this has worked throughout the last couple of movies is they can talk to each other, read each other's thoughts, even grab things in front of them, and even see images of things that might be around them. But when did they perfect this wireless transfer of lightsabers? Even if this is possible, wouldn't you need to work on this? Wouldn't it require just a tad of training to do this in such a cinematically pleasing manner?
You just admitted to being aware they know how to communicate with each other telepathically. This means they can easily formulate a plan within each other's minds, and Kylo has already demonstrated mastery of their dyad by taking her necklace. Both of these characters have demonstrated a mastery in the Force in this movie. This is a silly question.
Rey, bring back the balance, Rey, as I did.
This is a nice pep talk from all the Jedi ghosts, and it gets Rey back up on her feet, but what I really want at this point is for all these voices to get off their lazy asses and fight, because that's the problem with showing Ghost Luke grabbing a lightsaber earlier. He opened up the possibility of dead Jedi coming to the fight, and I want it to happen on a larger scale now. This whole movie is fan service. Why can't there be ghosts of all our favorite Jedis kicking ass at the end of this movie?
Like I said earlier, being on Ahch-To amplifies the abilities of a Force ghost. Just think of it as Force telekinesis, except you're seeing what is moving the saber. But to be clear, Force ghosts have always been able to manipulate and touch things. I mean, what the hell do you think Obi-Wan is sitting on here?
Once again, Star Wars finds a loophole in the kill the Emperor but become evil rule. They set up this impossible thing where if you kill the Emperor, no matter your level of anger, you become a dick like he does. So in Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader throws him down a shaft so Luke doesn't have to do it. And this one, I guess it's because the Emperor's own lightning is melting him. The little arrangement of killing the Emperor and becoming the Emperor doesn't work anymore.
You just said a lot of words to point out something on the screen. You act as if these rules are real-life rules that cannot be bent or broken within the film. Palpatine essentially killed himself, something he almost does against Mace Windu. This is the film being consistent with established lore.
Kylo's never used this power before, so of course on the first try he resurrects Rey from the dead.
What are you not getting about Kylo and Rey being connected? You even mentioned dyad in this video, so this means you are aware of their connection and their ability to share thoughts and feelings. You just saw them utilize this ability when they shared the lightsaber, and now you're questioning how Kylo, a master of the Force, knows how to use Force healing, an ability Rey used on him. Come on, man.
Also, let me get this straight. He heals her, and then that zaps him of all his life? And she can't heal him back because she's too weak? Did she act too slowly? When Rey was dead, why didn't she just disappear? Did the Force know that Kylo was going to Ben Solo up the Sith chasm to save her?
One thing at a time, goddammit. Rey couldn't heal Kylo because he just gave all of his life vitality to her with Force healing. As I mentioned earlier, you give your life force to the one you're healing. If she gave it back to him, she would just die again. And from what we've seen throughout the movies, Rey doesn't immediately disappear when she dies because there is a sense of readiness to become one with the Force that she didn't have. Every instance we've seen of Jedi dying in this manner has been them letting go, and this explains why Leia didn't immediately disappear until her son died. Remember, Qui-Gon didn't immediately disappear either, nor did a lot of other Jedi during Order 66.
Now have a threesome.
Rey Skywalker.
This movie is pretty average. The ending is great.
Want to come with me?